Hey there! If you want to keep up with the latest developments and in-depth analysis, make sure to follow S News. And, don't forget to support us by subscribing, liking and dropping a comment below. It really helps us bring you more content like this. So let's dive into the latest developments in the Iran nuclear file.
Iran has allowed a technical team from the International Atomic Energy Agency to visit in the coming weeks.
According to Iran's deputy foreign minister, the purpose of this visit is to discuss a new framework for Iran's relationship with the agency, not to inspect nuclear sites.
This move comes even though Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi has accused the IAEA of using double standards when it comes to Iran's nuclear file.
Meanwhile, an Iranian MP stated that if the IAEA reactivates the snapback mechanism, which could reimpose sanctions, the Iranian parliament will vote to pull out of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. He said that the snapback clause, which favors Western powers, is one of the problematic parts of the nuclear deal. A group of MPs has already prepared a withdrawal plan, and it will be approved within 24 hours if Europe raises the issue at the UN Security Council. He added that Iran has no obligation to stay in a treaty that doesn't protect its legal rights.
Yeah, so there's a lot at stake here, and things could escalate quickly depending on how these talks go.
So, amid all these rising regional and global tensions, Iran and the European Troika, France, Germany and the UK, are, well, still at the negotiating table.
Each side is, really trying to secure its own key strategic goals.
Iran's main demands are clear. First, we want the heavy economic sanctions lifted, especially those affecting vital sectors like oil, banking and technology. Second, we seek international recognition of our right to develop a peaceful nuclear program under the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And finally, we need legal guarantees, so Europe can't just pull out of future agreements, like the United States did back in 2018. That move left us exposed to repeated economic and security risks.
These demands honestly reflect Iran's desire for both economic relief and long-term security.
Europe's main demands are, well, pretty specific. First, we need to ensure that Iran doesn't enrich uranium to near weapons-grade levels, since that could pose some serious security risks. Second, we require full transparency from Iran with the IAEA, including, unrestricted inspections. Third, we need Iran to address its regional influence, which Europe sees as destabilizing. We're also calling for broader talks about Iran's role in neighboring countries. And lastly, we want to establish a permanent diplomatic mechanism to prevent future escalations or a return to military confrontation.
Despite their opposing goals, both sides seem to agree that they need a settlement, one that protects their interests and helps avoid further regional crises.
Iran has also changed how it deals with the IAEA. While some were surprised, the decision by the Iranian parliament to suspend cooperation with the IAEA includes specific conditions under which cooperation could resume. According to the law, Iran may resume cooperation with the IAEA if the agency guarantees the safety and security of Iran's nuclear facilities. It also ensures the safety of Iranian nuclear personnel.
On the other hand, the European powers have made cooperation with the IAEA a precondition for progress. They want IAEA inspectors to be allowed access to some Iranian nuclear reactors to assess the nature of their activities.
This could improve negotiating conditions with Europe, which currently holds leverage through the snapback mechanism, meaning, if Europe triggers it, especially France, Germany or the United Kingdom, old UN sanctions would return, deepening Iran's already troubled economy. Europe insists that IAEA inspectors must return.
Meanwhile, Iran demands clear guarantees and warns that it will leave the NPT if the snapback is triggered.
These back-and-forth pressures raise the question, are we heading toward de-escalation or a new crisis? Honestly, all signs point toward possible escalation.
Iran's parliament's National Security Committee has summoned key figures like Mohammad Islami, the head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, and Abbas Araghchi, a senior nuclear negotiator. They agreed on certain red lines in the talks, mainly uranium enrichment and lifting sanctions. Iran insists on its right to peaceful enrichment, even under international supervision.
But if Israel pressures the United States again to demand dismantling Iran's nuclear program, reaching a deal will be extremely unlikely, now or any time in the future.
So escalation seems inevitable, especially given recent statements from both sides, including Israel.
The Israeli operation in Iran doesn't seem to be over yet.
Iranian statements suggest that Tehran is still preparing for the possibility of another confrontation with Israel.
They've been upgrading their air defense systems, and today there was an incident involving the Iranian Revolutionary Guard harassing a United States destroyer in the Gulf of Oman.
All of this points to the fact that reaching an agreement anytime soon is unlikely, and the chances of escalation are much higher than those of negotiation or reaching a solution.
Iran also says that, up until now, the International Atomic Energy Agency hasn't officially asked about the whereabouts of 400 grams of highly enriched uranium. At the same time, they've made it clear that the upcoming IAEA visit won't include access to any nuclear sites. So what's the purpose of this visit? Is it meant to rebuild trust between the two sides? What kind of visit is this going to be?
Honestly, based on Iranian statements, the visit seems focused on trying to create some kind of working framework or roadmap that both Iran and the IAEA can agree on. This might help if Iran eventually re-engages in negotiations with European powers or the United States, with the IAEA acting as a monitor or guarantor for any potential future deal.
On another note, I wouldn't be surprised if Iran's 60% enriched uranium becomes part of the discussions. That issue is right in the IAEA's wheelhouse. I think one of the first things the inspectors will want to do is visit some of the nuclear sites that were recently targeted in Israeli and American airstrikes. They'll probably want to know where the 60% enriched uranium is being stored and understand Iran's plans, especially with threats coming from Tehran about potentially going beyond 60% enrichment in the near future. Because of this, the IAEA needs to be a core player in talks on these issues before Iran sits down at the negotiating table with Europe or the United States.
Also, Iran is likely to ask the IAEA not to issue any resolutions condemning it in the coming period. They want to avoid giving any pretext for further military strikes, like the ones they faced during last month's Israeli attacks.
Finally, thanks so much for listening to our coverage today. We really appreciate your support. So don't forget to follow S News and check out our future videos. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like,